Hello and welcome back to the semi-finals of the Noobs for the Noob God Tournament. Today we have Smallgang leading Britonia versus Isaac leading the Wood Elves. For Britonia, he's being led by Rapans, a Damsel of Heavens and the Green Knight. For his front line, he's bringing a bunch of infantry. He's bringing 4 units of Peasant Mob, 1 unit of Men-at-Arms Polearms, and 4 units of Battle Pilgrims. For his cavalry, he's taking 2 Questing Knights, 2 Grail Knights, and 2 Mounted Yeoman Archers, and a Royal Pegasus Knight unit. And for his single artillery unit is a Blessed Field Trebuchet. The Wood Elves are being led by a Glade Lord and a Spellsinger of Beasts and a Spellsinger of Life. Their front line, they have 5 units of Eternal Guard with shields. Their ranged infantry, they have 5 units of Glade Guard with Hagbane Tips and 1 unit of Way Watchers. For his cavalry, he's bringing 2 units of Wild Riders with shields, and for his monsters, he's bringing a Tree Man and a Forest Dragon. Let's get into this one. Here we are at Hiorot Ridge. This is the new map for the semi-finals. As you can see here, Britonia have decided to deploy quite sneakily in all of these woods here in a pretty standard checkerboard formation. They have their artillery at the back being defended by some polearms, and the Royal Pegasus Knights standing by. Rapans is in the middle along with the Damsel of Heavens. On the left flank we have units of Grail Knights and Questing Knights, and over here far to the right we have Vanguard deployed, the Green Knight, and his 2 units of Mounted Yeoman Archers. The Wood Elves have also decided to deploy in a fairly standard checkerboard formation. On the left flank here they have their 2 units of Wild Rider shields, and in the middle they have pretty much everything apart from their 1 unit of Way Watchers, which are hidden away off to the right. So I'm interested to see how this one goes. Let's just speed up until something happens. So Britonia making the first move forward, but still out of range of pretty much everyone, and there we go, the Wood Elves have now seen them and are deciding to move up, because they know that if they don't, the Trebuchet is going to fire on them before they can do too much. We can see now that the Wood Elves are just slowly making their advance, and let's just keep speeding this up. The Blessed Field Trebuchet is now taking aim and getting ready to fire. Unfortunately, he is in the trees there, so he might collide with some of those, and not all of his shots might go through. His Royal Pegasus Knights are also kind of in the way of these, so hopefully he doesn't get any friendly fire there. That would be very unfortunate indeed. Oh, no, it looks like he manages to thread the needle through his units and the trees, and is tagged in a unit of Eternal Guard with shields. The Peasant Mob are moving up to try and clog down this enemy advance, but it's Peasant Mob, they're not really going to do too much. Now, the Wood Elf Glade Guard are just doing what Wood Elf Glade Guard do best. They are taking these Peasant Mobs to pieces. Not like it's that much of a challenge anyway, but it's certainly going to be pretty easy. On the left flank here, the Forest Dragon has come down and is now engaging with some Battle Pilgrims. So he's going to easily take those out, but hopefully the Britonian player can move some cav around or some range units or anything around to focus that down as quickly as possible. Rapans charging straight to the middle of those Eternal Guard with shields and doing some decent enough damage there. The Damsel of Heavens look like she's going for a cast. On the left flank here, excellent chain lining in 1, 2, 3 units there if you include the Spellsinger of Life, and that is travelling excellently for that player and doing lots of damage to those Eternal Guard right there. In fact, that unit is absolutely annihilated by that. The Peasant Mobs are all pretty much broken and charred, and I mean, it's Peasant Mobs, what do you expect? On the right flank here, we can see that some of the Britonian cav, is moving in. 2 units of the Wild Riders are now fighting the Grail Knights, and Grail Knights are going to win that all day long, especially with the Mounted Yeoman assisting them. We can see that the Questing Knights have now charged into the back of the Tree Men and these Eternal Guard here, and the Green Knight is going into the back line to try and shut down some of those Glade Guard right there. A Comet of Cassandra onto the front lines there of the Tree Man, the Singer of Beasts, and the Eternal Guard, so not too bad there for value. Unfortunately, the Spellsinger is now at the Damsel, is now being focused by a couple of units of Glade Guard and is taking a lot of damage, so I want to be very careful there. We can see on the left flank here, another unit of Grail Knights is engaged with the Way Watchers, and again, Grail Knights are going to win that all day long, so that's not looking very good for the Way Watchers whatsoever. They could have got a lot more value, unfortunately. The Questing Knights are charging into the Eternal Guard with shields. They are spear units, so they won't feel it too badly, but it's still definitely going to hurt being charged by Questing Knights. We can see the Forest Dragon is back airborne. The Glade Lord has been absolutely annihilated during this fight. He's doing a breath ability there. Unfortunately, it looks like he was aiming for the Battle Pilgrims. Mostly hit his own units in the back because of his positioning there, so that's very unfortunate. He wants to make sure he gets around, hits them laterally rather than head on, and especially over the top of his own units, because that is going to hurt. We see the other Forest Dragon here. He's kind of spinning around. He's not exactly sure what he wants to aim for, but I think he's trying to line up for a breath ability. We all know they get a little bit wacky when they're trying to do that. The questing knight, the Grail Knights have managed to route both units of the Wild Riders with the assistance of the Human Archers, so they should now try and get around here and charge into the back of the Wood Elves to try and get a little bit more value if they can. The enemy, good lord, the Wood Elf Glade Lord is very injured here. He's basically just standing around trying to keep his units there because it's not going to last much longer. Earthblood has been used upon him, so he's going to regen a little bit of health, but it's only 336. It's not particularly worth it. It's not really going to make that much difference, but hopefully it can do something to bring him into this battle a little bit more. The Mounted Human Archers now firing upon the Glade Lord, so he's now trying to make a retreat, but they're just going to keep on him, and they're going to fire whilst moving, and they're going to take him out. No worries right there. He needs to either engage with them, or just run away for good. Oh, he's using a breath ability there. Unfortunately, he's going into the Peasant Mob, so pretty much, I don't want to call it a wasted cast, but I mean, if you're going to kill something with the breath ability, you don't really want to aim it on the Peasant Mob. That's not too good. The Tree Man here is pinned down by a bunch of units, Questing Knights, the Green Knight, and some Battle Pilgrims, and he's not going to last much longer. And there we go, army losses coming into effect for the Wood Elves, and the Bretonnians take the day. That was a fairly interesting battle. It looked like the Wood Elves had the advantage in the early game because of all the ranged power that they have. They can just fire into the Bretonnian ranks, tear them to pieces, and not really have to worry too much. But the Bretonnians managed to shut them down with their cavalry units, which was excellently done. A few good casts there from the Damsel of Heavens. So it's certainly going to be interesting to see how these scores line up. But for now, let's get into the stats. So as you can see on the Bretonnian side, the heroes all got plenty of value themselves. Ripon's got 42 kills, the Damsel of Heavens 58, and the Green Knight 13. The Green Knight was taking on large units and high value units for the majority of the game, so that's excellent value from him there. 58 kills from those casts, excellent work. Pretty much 0 kills apart from a few odd ones on the Peasant Mobs, which is, you know, what I'd expect, to be honest. 132 kills on Battle Pilgrims. I don't know what they were fighting, but good lord, that's a lot of kills for Battle Pilgrims. The 2 units of Grail Knights getting exactly the same number of kills, in fact, which is very interesting. Same with the humans, actually. Wow, that's pretty crazy. But yes, excellent value for these guys. Took out both units of the Cav and some units of Way Watchers, a bunch of range units. Excellent management there. Very, very, very well done indeed. 227 kills, good lord, on the Questing Knights. It might have been those that were taking on the old Cav, but either way, all this Cav got so much value, so excellently managed. 48 kills on the Blessed Field Trebuchet, not too shabby, but it did remain completely uncontested, so, you know, it should get a lot of value, to be honest with you. Moving on to the Wood Elves here, we can see the Glade Lord got 27 kills, which isn't too bad, especially considering he's a range unit, so can only target really one entity at a time, so certainly respectable effort there. The 2 spellcasters didn't really get too many kills between them. You know, the spellcasters of Beasts, not really too many casts that I could spot. I'll have to go through and have a look again. The Spellslinger of Life only saw a couple of life casts there, so not too much value. The front line, the Eternal Guard of Shields, got a few kills, but again, mostly on Peasant Mob. In fact, a lot of these kills, if we look over here, the only casualties they took really were the Royal Pegasus Knights, which unfortunately didn't get any value, and the Peasant Mob, who were completely wiped out. So a lot of these kills are going to be units that aren't really that valuable. But I suppose that's just how you have to play it when you are going against Bretonnia. You have to take them out because they're there, otherwise they'll just pest you until they die. But yes, for the range units, we can see here they're getting the majority of the kills for the Wood Elves, with around 40 kills per unit of Glade Guard, so certainly not too bad there, but again, as I said, it would have been nice to see a lot more kills, and especially on a lot more high-value targets, so it's very unfortunate that we didn't see that. The Cav got completely shut down. It's not the player's fault, it's just how it happened. He got put into a duel with far superior Cav to him, and they fell very quickly indeed. 49 kills on the Forest Dragon, a decent breath ability here and there, but nothing too crazy. It was just engaging with very weak units. Same thing with the Tree Man, so it could have gone a lot better for the Wood Elves, but we'll see how it goes when we get to the scores. Okay, now for the scores. Now, starting off with Smallgang, who led the Bretonnians. For composition, we only gave him an 8 out of 20. This is because it was a fairly standard Bretonnian army. You know, you have the peasants up front, the better infantry behind, and then a bunch of Cav units. We did like the Cav unit selection. You know, you had an actual decent variety of units there, including the Mounted Yeoman Archers, which are quite rare and interesting to see. Nice bit of ranged firepower in there. The Blessed Field Trebuchet wasn't too bad, but it was the only artillery unit, so, you know, we can't score them too highly. But the hero selection, that was very nice. You know, Riponce is lovely to see. The Caster was great, and the Green Knight is always a fun time. For tactics, we gave him a 12.5 out of 20. We think the Cav was very well managed and shut down all the Wood Elf units very quickly. They took out the Wild Riders before they got any value. They were in the back line, shutting down the range units super quickly. And yeah, basically anything that the Wood Elves had that could have been a threat, pretty much the cav took care of it, so that was excellently managed there. The trebuchet wasn't managed the best. It was kind of put in the trees, which isn't the best position for it to fire. It would have been better if it was out in the open, a little bit on top of a hill maybe, just to get some nice shots into the enemy front line, because where it wasn't really getting too much value, and the tag tin, you know, it just couldn't hit anything really because of where it was, so that's the only reason that we can't score him any higher for that. As for magic, we gave him a huge 14.5 out of 20. That lightning spell was fantastic and got loads of value. Yes, I know that's a randomly moving spell, so you know, it's kind of RNG wherever it does any good. But, you know, it was well placed, no matter which direction it went in, it was pretty much going to get value, so an excellent cast there, we enjoyed that very much. The comet wasn't too bad, it did hit about as many friendly units as it did enemy units, so you kind of have to judge for yourself whether it's worth that or not, but I personally quite enjoyed it. He also supported the army well with buffs and debuffs, and it was just all around very well managed, and was using spells whenever he could. So that brings him to 35 out of 60 with a bonus of 15 for a total of 50. Now moving on to the Wood Elves, and for army composition we gave him an 11.5 out of 20. It was a nice hero selection and an unusual double caster pick, so we're very excited to see where that went. We thought that the infantry, both melee and ranged, was very standard, you know, it was just kind of find a unit that you like, spam a bunch of them, and do the same thing for ranged and melee, so nothing too exciting there. The Wild Riders were a nice touch, and the monsters are, of course, always a bit of fun. But yeah, kind of middle of the road score there, because half his armor was interesting, and then half it just wasn't, unfortunately. As for tactics, now, unfortunately, we only gave him a 5 out of 20. They were just really relying on the range units to do it all, which is standard Wood Elves, and you can't really fault them too much for it. You know, the Wood Elves are in a bit of a difficult spot right now, and it's very bold to try and choose them. But if you're going to focus on your range units, you really need to keep them defended. And unfortunately, it just didn't pan out. He couldn't keep them safe. They got charged way too fast, didn't get barely any value. And the only value that they did really get was killing peasants. And, you know, you may as well be shooting at a wall because it's pretty pointless. You know, everything can take out peasants. If you're using those fantastic range units from the Wood Elves, you won't be targeting something that is very valuable and, you know, get a lot of damage done to high value targets, which unfortunately they just did not. The Wild Riders got pinned down by one unit of enemy cav. He could have pulled one out even if he didn't save both. I was kind of confused when I saw them both trying to fight one enemy cav unit. He might have forgot about them, or he might have just thought, oh well, it's 2-on-1, it might be able to take them out. But yeah, it was a bit of a misplay there. He kind of just left them, sat there and waited for them to die, so they got no value, so that was very unfortunate to see. Would have been nice to see him pull one of them out and send him off to do something else. The Dragon was also sat around quite a little bit. Same thing with his Lord. I mean, his Lord was getting focused from the get-go. But yeah, they were kind of stood around and, yeah, not really used too much. So unfortunately, that is why he got such a low score. As for magic, we again had to give him a 5 out of 20. We just didn't really see much. I only really saw the heal on the Lord towards the end there. There were a couple of breath abilities used by the dragons, but they could have been used way more often and got way more value. You saw that one in the middle of the fight that was like from behind, and it got only his units and pretty much nothing else. The other two that I think I saw were just on Peasant Mob, which is completely worthless. Again, if you're going to be using an ability like that, you want to be using it on something that's high value, so you're getting, you know, a lot of value out of using it. So it was very unfortunate there. We were very excited with the 2 spellcasters, and I think what happened is he brought the 2 spellcasters thinking this is, you know, this is going to score him some points, because you're right, it would. But it was very ambitious, but it just didn't pay off because he couldn't get the value that he needed, either because he couldn't manage it well enough or because he was just struggling with other things. So yeah, it was very unfortunate, and not trying to fault the player at all, by the way. Taking the Wood Elves is a very bold choice, and this is the Noobs, so the Noobs got tournament after all. Everyone's trying out new things, and I appreciate trying out the Wood Elves, but unfortunately it just didn't pay off this time. But very well played by both guys, as always. That does bring his total to a 17.5 out of 60, which does mean that Small Gang, as the Petonians, or as whoever wants to play in the next round, is moving on to the actual final. Yeah, the final will take place next Friday, so look forward to that. We have the next semi-final coming on Monday, which is Eon Hunter versus Wizard King, and whoever wins that will be going on to face Small Gang in the final for the glory of the Noobs for the Noob tournament, so look forward to that, and be sure to hit subscribe if you want to see it. Don't want to miss it. But yes, I believe that covers everything. Be sure to like this video if you did enjoy it. If you enjoyed the battle, then leave a comment down below saying how much you enjoyed it, saying what things you liked, what units you liked, what tactics you liked, and I'll be sure to give them a read and give a little reply if it's anything particularly interesting. As I mentioned before, yeah, be sure to subscribe if you want to see more videos like this. You know, we're doing tournaments. The Chaos Guide is going to come. It's coming, guys. I swear, I just need to, you know, wait for the patch and then stream the Chaos, which is going to be so much fun, and then play them, and then write the guide, and then make the guide. So it's going to be coming soon, I promise. I'm working on it. But I've got some exciting things in the works, so be sure to subscribe if you want to see that. And, you know, hit that bell notification if you feel like it. It's a cool thing to do nowadays. But yes, if you didn't enjoy this video, I don't need to tell you what to do. You know where the dislike button is, you know where the comments are, so you can write an angry letter. So be sure to do that, and I cannot wait to read those either. But yes, I believe that covers everything, so for now, I've been Colonel Damneders, and I'll see you next turn.